Welcome to Subtle Propaganda. I'm Drew, coming to you live from the volcano that will one day destroy us all. Joining me is Three Circles Mike, who has no idea what a Venn diagram is, Integrity Joe, who's late in light, and Rob. We will be talking about pop culture, world news, politics, military culture, fight videos, and the general state of the union. Are we charlatans? I don't know. You decide. Oh, and remember, like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends, and don't forget to tell us how wrong we were in the comments.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, man.
What's up?
You know,
Yo.
what's up?
What's up?
How's everybody's Friday?
Happy Friday. I just got back from a happy hour. Everybody doing good?
Oh, yeah.
Happy
Except for the
hour
fact
over
I
here.
start
Cheers.
school again tomorrow or on next week, but you know, that's a problem for next week, Mike, right? It's not a problem for
You'll live.
right now, Mike. Exactly.
That's
you know?
future Mike. All right, dude.
Future
So
Mike.
so check it out, dude. So last week we went through a lot of heavy shit. It was a heavy political episode, so I think probably part of this episode will be fairly political again. So just to recap, last week we hit a couple of things. We discussed like some of the antecedent events that led to the Capitol protests that turned into a riot and a storming of the Capitol building, resulting in a few deaths. And we talked about obviously the protest itself, and then we went through some of our own predictions for the future and what we think kind of lies in store. And I think we kind of have some updates, some new things that are coming. Who was involved with the protests? Who's been arrested? What kind of charges they face? I think, there's a lot to think about when it comes to Biden's first 100 days of presidency and his economic stimulus package and some of the ramifications that might come from that stuff. So, I think that's probably a good place to start. So, Mike, did you notice who got bagged up, who got hemmed up, and what they're looking at as far as time?
So what I found so far is 170 or like warrants or suspects have been identified, and they've swooped up 70 of them. And I'm sure we've all heard about the most famous one, like the QAnon shaman guy with the I'm not gonna lie, he looked pretty sick. If he was like in a movie, I wouldn't be a bad like character. But yeah, he's in jail now. And I think he's the guy too. No, it was the podium guys in jail, and he was refusing not to eat because he didn't get organic food. Did you guys see that too? He literally didn't eat in jail because they didn't have organic food.
No, dude. I didn't hear that one.
So they caved and
That's
then
a
gave him
first world
organic
problem.
food. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
of course, he's like a raw food vegan or something.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't eat soy,
Whole food
bro.
vegan.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
kind of, I
mean-
guess. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I have kind of a lot to say about it, just because we've gone through this past summer of riots, and we've seen kind of some weird shit going on, and we've heard things like bail is racist and it attacks like our most impoverished citizens. And I heard that they denied the QAnon shaman bail.
Damn.
So it just kind of looks like they're trying to put these dudes under the jail type of thing. I think that these people are really gonna get fucked, man.
Dude,
Yeah,
20
they're charging
years.
him with sedition, right?
Oh, dude, they're getting charged with like a litany of crimes. I don't have them all in front of me, but I mean, they're hitting them for every statute.
I have
like,
some of them.
you have them all, Mike?
Yeah,
hit
I
'em
have,
up.
I have some of the main ones. Let me see what I write down.
Just while
so
Mike
the-
looks
so
at the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So they're hitting them with like, dude, everything: mail theft, stealing property theft, national security, national defense theft, theft of information, national. Yeah, like, dude, they're hitting them with like at the ring of the books, like, and I don't know if that all falls under
Disorderly
one
conduct
thing,
inside the
but yeah, they're hitting them with like everything that they can think of right now.
Insane,
So,
man.
Yeah.
I think granted, I think they should definitely get their PP smacked for this. It wasn't a small thing, but like I was saying, like I thought bail was bad, man. I thought it was a bad thing. I thought we couldn't have bail. We needed, cash bail was racist. It was terrible. We need to abolish it, but looks like bail is kind of a good thing in this case.
Very
Oh, boy.
situational.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
situational.
Have you seen old boy Kyle Workerhouse? Is out here taking selfies with
Oh
people?
God,
Dude,
Like he's a celebrity now?
saw that.
the power of 4chan, man. It's undeniable.
Saw
Undefeated.
that.
Yeah, they wanted to like revoke his bail or increase it because now he's like a celebrity and everyone's getting mad about it.
I
But
think I
sorry.
mean I think he's also, yeah, like I guess, as a blanket statement, like I have no doubt that these guys are going to face a, fair trial by a jury of their peers for sure, right? Like these dudes are totally fucked, you know what I mean? And they're going to get smashed. Same way with Rittenhouse. I mean,
Mhm.
he was seen flashing the old white power symbol. They got him on a selfie on that. So I mean, what do you guys think is the deal with that? Like, since you brought up Rittenhouse, like, do you think he's actually flashing a white power? So, like, is that a white power thing, or like, I don't fucking know. I've heard it is. I mean,
You don't
I don't
know
know.
about this? Is that it's
What
a
was
it's the
the,
power of 4chan. It's a 4chan meme.
No, I know it's a
What's the
4chan
symbol?
meme. I understand like where it's the OK symbol. They say it's white power or whatever, right? Like it's a W and a P.
Gotcha.
And so he was giving the OK like this on a picture. And people were like, oh, he was seeing flashing the white power symbol. I mean, is that really a white power symbol? You guys think it's real? Like, I mean, what do you think?
I don't think it is, but it has. I mean, thanks to the Anti-Defamation League, it's officially a hate symbol. But
Yeah.
I mean, to them, like you sneeze the wrong way, and that's probably a hate symbol as well. So they're like every year they add more and more hate symbols to like their banned like symbols list, or like this is a list or a category of things that are banned that denote hate or whatever towards a specific group. And that whole thing came from a 2016 or 2017 campaign that 4chan did, where every time there was a reference to Hitler or something anti-Semitic or fascism, they would do the OK symbol, and they said that it was like if you invert it, it's the or if it's that game that you play with a kid, like as a kid, where like you do
Yeah.
this and it's below your waist, like, and if you look at
Yeah,
it, you get to hit the
exactly.
person or whatever. They turn that into like, oh no, this is a symbol of hate that the Nazis would flash at each other.
Yeah,
I
they
think that's what I always understood it as. It was always just like a stupid little kids game where you just like, someone hit you, like, ha ha ha, you caught it, and that was it. And then all of a sudden turn into white power.
Yeah, they
Yep.
had like a famous instance where like I don't know if he was a federal agent or if he was just a cop. He did it like in a picture. He had it below the waist, like the sign where you're gonna punch somebody, if you look. And I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, it was a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure he like lost his job over it.
I remember something like that where police officers or government officials or somebody was doing it, or people were like, and they were getting in trouble for it. I don't think they got fired, but they were definitely like making the news about it.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely like national media worthy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was crazy. I mean, that dude, I don't even understand like how he's going to get a fair trial. That Rittenhouse dude. So I think he's gonna be up shit's creek soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
fucked.
in a bad situation.
Yeah,
But I mean, then again, like the whole like his whole thing is that's complicated. I wouldn't want to try that. I wouldn't want to be a lawyer trying to defend him.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind of all over the place. You got the gun from bad places. And all this kind of like
Yep.
bringing the gun over fucking state line shit. I don't even know if that's true. There's been so much things that have changed, like with the case. It's been kind of hard to follow, but especially with everything else going on. But I mean, as far as these dudes that got pinched in DC, I mean, something that really shocked me was that, like, for instance, when that do you guys remember when that, like, he was like a BLM Antifa style dude, he had the big Black Lives Matter fist tattooed on his neck. He shot that a Patriot Prayer member in the
Yes.
chest,
Yes.
and I want to say it was in Oregon. Was it in Portland? I want to say it was in Portland.
Yeah, I think it was Oregon or Washington, one of those two states.
Yeah, it was either, yeah, exactly.
It's after like the rally or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was Portland or Seattle, some rally. Anyway, anyway, for people who are listening, real quick recap. Basically, this dude who's like an Antifa BLM supporter, not of the normal ilk, but like very obviously deranged, just catches this Patriot Prayer member, who Patriot Prayer is like this right-wing Trump supporting, we're coming to town to kind of resist the resistance type of, folks, Christian organization. He catches this Patriot Prayer dude like outside of a parking garage and just shoots him point blank in the chest, just straight murders him. Dude, I didn't see like the FBI or any federal organizations like plastering photos of that dude, like anywhere. There was no social media campaigns looking for this guy. There was no like All I saw was actually Vice News do a fucking interview with him, like a straight up, "Hey, how you doing? How's it going?" After you just murdered a guy, interview with him. The federal authorities ended up killing him in a gunfight. But these folks that they're pinched in DC, my main point overall, and what I wanted to ask you guys about is these folks that they got in DC. Their faces are everywhere where they work. They're snapping pictures of, like, some people have like a work lanyard around their neck with their keys, and they're like digit control alt delete, enhance, and they're fucking like zooming in on these things and like capturing where they work, and trying to fuck these people. I mean, what do you guys think about it? I found it to be like really distasteful, the disparity between both movements. Both movements are wrong, like we discussed last week, but like, I mean, just the disparity in justice is fucking nuts, man.
Yeah, it's crazy because I heard some of the stuff over like over the summer that, like, the FBI and local like agencies were like kind of keeping a tally of everything, and then I was kind of wondering, like, a year from now, like, it's not going to be all over the news, but they're going to slowly like round up everybody. They're like going to put warrants out, and as they slowly get picked up, they'll slowly get charges put on them or something. But yeah, like they were wrapping everybody up from there within, like, 24 hours. And I've seen I was gonna kind of bring that up too and ask you guys about that, about the whole, like, anybody who's there is blacklisted, like excommunicado now, like losing your jobs, like, can't, like, they Bumble even like removed a political a filter because people were reporting protest members on Bumble to the FBI. Like, they saw them on Bumble and they saw them on the protest videos and
Dude.
reported them to the FBI. Like,
Didn't I tell you, dude, if you're a conservative, you can't get a date? I told you guys.
Mhm.
I told you guys that
yeah.
last episode.
Conservative.
Dude, yeah, it's definitely way different, right? Because I wonder what the reaction would have
It
been
is
if
a double
they
standard.
wrapped up everybody during the summer,
Yeah, I mean, there's people on the no-fly list now, and that's the other kind of side to it. It's, you can't even get home now just because you went to a Trump rally and this and that. Like, and they found that there's been a couple of Antifa members in the rally. It wasn't just all Trump people. It was everybody and anybody who was there. But yeah, dude, people are getting
Is that
blacklisted.
confirmed though? Because I haven't seen anything about that. The Antifa bit. Is that confirmed? Because
I mean,
I don't want to push back
there's
too hard on
small
that,
numbers.
but I haven't seen
No,
anything
no,
about that.
And I agree, because I think you should definitely
Hate actors,
report,
bro. I saw government issued boots in there.
Let me try pulling it up. I've
They're
heard it a
merchants of
couple times.
doubt.
I did hear a
Trying to
little bit
sow
about that,
discontent.
Rob. I only thing I heard about the Antifa was it wasn't confirmed. Yeah, it wasn't confirmed.
Yeah,
So.
because I mean, everybody. This is the thing. This is my problem with the right and with conservatives is that you stand for something, right? You're saying like, oh yeah, like we're not going to take this. We're not going to take X anymore. Like X is too much. And then when things go violent, you're like, no, that wasn't us. That was Antifa. We said we weren't going to take X, but Antifa came in and they mess everything up. Like, come on, dude. Like, what do you mean? Like, you were pissed off about this and it went sideways and you fucked some people up and people died. You fucking wear it. Own it, dude.
Yeah.
You were mad about it. Don't blame Antifa and say it was Antifa dudes who came in and instigated violence. Like, dude, you were mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you made violence.
Like I said, it was the majority of them were, the Conservative Party, were the, the right, kind of Trump supporters and stuff like that, whatever you want to call it.
QAnon, bro. It's all QAnon. Most of them. They're not Antifa.
Yeah, I think they were all QAnon for sure.
Yeah.
QAnon.
I mean,
yeah,
this is
probably the better way to put it.
This demonstrates like the power of the media. And we all know that the media leans left. Majority of the media leans left. All of these tech companies lean left as well. And when you put a target on yourself like this, you basically unleash the full power that the media and social media has, and they devote all of their available resources to do something about it. And this is why this is why like something like the Capitol protest, where yes, majority of the people there didn't really do anything other than just protest on the National Mall. But when you do something as crazy as storm the Capitol building, it better be for something good, because look at what happens to you
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
just
good.
you're angry about the validity of election and you can't even prove it in a court. And it gets thrown out. Like it doesn't even like the case doesn't even get brought to trial because there's such little evidence to support it. So, I mean, it just shows like you really have to do your homework, or you got to make sure that you're doing it for the right cause, or have a, you know, the correct reasons to be doing something as drastic as breaching the Capitol building. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think you're right on that account. Like I said, I just have issues with the disparity that
yeah, I mean,
like
it sucks
things that are
for
happening.
sure.
You know, another thing too, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not calling for or inciting any kind of violence here, but it's like, you know, like you had a black officer shoot a white unarmed woman. Nobody's burning anything down. No cities are fucking crumbling. You know, so it's just there's huge disparity in how these things are carried out, and you know, I think the proof is in the pudding on why, but yeah, not good.
No, not good. Did you guys see that
There's
the
definitely-
FBI even warned like the sergeant at arms or the master at arms at the Capitol of a possible possible protest like getting violent and out of control?
I didn't see that. What is it like? What did they warn him of? I mean, when you have a couple million people descending on DC, you know, you would think they would be. Did you guys see like the election protests? I'm sure you guys did, right? Like after Trump got elected.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Mhm.
were tearing shit up, bro. Like I mean, they were like smashing the entire city up. Like I don't know if you guys remember that poor Bank of America. Whoever uses that Bank of America on whatever corner that is in Washington D.C. You know, I mean, they fucked that place up pretty bad, dude. They tore up some limos and shit. Like, I mean, dude, like it's fucking yeah, dude. When there's millions of people around that are mad about something, yeah, it's gonna be violence, and it doesn't take a fuck Nostradamus to predict that.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's what's crazy about this whole thing. And you brought this up last week, Rob. This is DC. I mean, they're used to seeing protests all
Yeah.
the time. Like, how are you not more prepared for something like this? The article I was reading was in the New York Times, and essentially they gave the FBI like um a way to get out of well, it was just one report we had from one outline like online forum about there might be violence or it's going to be war, and it was uncorroborated and not substantiated, so we didn't really take it as like a valid threat. And it's just okay, well, you're supposed to be protecting us from domestic terror as well, so what's going on here? Like, you suck at your job. Like, as much as I hate how much the government spies on us, they're also very incompetent as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds a whole lot like the 9/11 Commission. It's like, oh, we totally missed all these Saudi hijackers.
Yeah.
They slipped right under our radar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's I've only thing I've seen is like I've also seen that there were tours going on when it was supposed to be closed, and now there's a bunch of senators that are like supposedly like looking at getting charged with abating like helping them because they were like potentially they're saying that they were kind of showing them around, giving them like the inside tour right before it happened. I don't know if you guys have seen anything like that, but Pelosi was going on a rampage about charging senators and the Congress people who charge the Capitol as well, you know?
Yeah, I saw that they're trying to put like some of the senators on the no-fly list. Which
Yeah, they I mean, dude, the folks in government are like the biggest cowards ever, man. They dude, like I mean, you saw AOC, she was taking sniper fire with Hill Dog, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was saying she was gonna die for sure.
Yeah.
That was it. Damn, who is this
Yeah.
winner? Who's this winner you got on the screen?
So this is not to sorry to take away from that. I agree with you guys, but this is I was talking about. There were some Antifa members there, but this is one of the guys, that left wing agitator known for electoral and the Capitol breach. And goes on to quote him. He's got his he's one that does one of the recordings, I think, of that chick getting shot. But you can see right here, he's like, we did this together. Fuck yeah, we're all part of this history. Let's burn this shit down. It's
All right.
it's on. It's
Fair
definitely
enough,
a
fair
right
enough.
source. It's from the Daily Wire. But and again, it's
Daily
I
Wire,
think majority of
very
individuals
reliable
have,
source.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna do
I know,
it.
no doubt, no doubt.
Very reliable.
I was gonna
Let
gotta
me
know your information.
let me bring up an Atlantic article to substantiate that
Exactly.
or corroborate it.
But it just I think that no doubt there was a majority of the individuals there were fucking going for were on the Trump supporters, QAnon, like you're saying. So
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah. I don't think there was a huge amount of Antifa style agitators there, and if there were, a couple, it's par for the course. I mean, they found, excuse me, they found pipe bombs there. They had all types of, Mike, do you have anything on that on where these pipe bombs and anything like that came from?
No, I haven't seen anything about that. Just a $50,000 reward for the dude
Whoever.
yeah, that's who I have. That's all I've really seen. I didn't see anything if they caught him or if they had any leading suspects, but yeah, there's always going to be those outliers or those, doesn't just because Antifa didn't organize it doesn't mean that there's not some of them that went anyways,
Sure.
So
I think also they're not stupid enough to miss an opportunity where they might be able to, incite some type of violence. But I just don't think that they were, major players in why, the whole thing went violent. So,
Yeah.
but it's like I said, man, it's conservatives, not to repeat myself, but like conservatives are, they're very quick to say, I'm very pissed off about this. And when it gets violent, they want to point the finger at other people. And it's like, dude, just wear it, man. Like you guys fucked shit up. Like just wear it. You were pissed about it. Don't blame Antifa that you were upset, that Donald Trump lost the election. Don't say it was Antifa. Just, admit that you fucked up the Capitol building. It's your house.
Own
Tear
it.
it down if you want to.
right.
Yeah.
It's like why are you trying to make a stand if you're not going to claim it? You might as well not be there. If you're really that mad, and you're right, and you're truly correct in your motives, then why would you ever hide behind anything?
Did you guys see anything from Biden about it? Him talking about the events.
I haven't seen anything other than his initial statement he gave after, but I didn't hear anything else. What did he say?
No, yeah, I had not heard anything else either
Okay.
besides, just some condemnation and some very
Yeah.
strong condemnation, things like that. But
Yeah.
I was curious if you guys had heard anything.
Honestly, yeah, I haven't heard anything from Sleepy Joe, so we got to keep that name going.
Well, I know Trump doubled down on condemning or condoning the violence at the Capitol again, and he had to do it through like White House released media video because he can't tweet it out, so it was actually cogent and coherent.
I saw Sleepy Joe trying to make a Twitter account or something meme.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that? What do you guys have to say about as far as censorship goes? Do you guys want to talk about that? And that's a big deal.
It is,
Yeah.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about that one all night.
I mean, the president essentially got the Alex Jones deplatforming treatment.
Yep.
He was
pretty
deplatformed.
much. Yeah. He's pretty much off of every social media site now. And I did see something about like Parler. He was trying to get in like the board and have the name Mr. X or something like that before Parler was shut down.
Really?
Yeah. He was
Weird.
trying to, yeah. But yeah, I think it's crazy, man. Like, I guess not really surprised with the way he's acted. I don't know how I feel about it with the whole banning political officials off like social platforms. I don't know if I'm for or against it. I guess.
Did you guys hear about the Ugandan elections?
Mm-hmm.
And how so in Uganda was having their election, and they essentially they banned Twitter and Facebook from their elections. They were like, yeah, you're not allowed to do it, and yeah, people have been losing their minds about it. I thought it was kind of funny because like in my opinion, this is like a super trivial issue in my opinion. Probably not the hottest take. And it takes like the Ugandan election. Like, sorry, Uganda. Like, I don't fucking care about Uganda. Sorry. I mean, like, if someone was terribly trying to take you over and like persecute you, I'd come and fight on your side, like for sure. You know, this is America. We're for liberty. We want it to reign everywhere. But like, seriously, that's your best take is Uganda. Like, come on, dude. I don't fucking care about the Ugandan election. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like video from like Ugandan parliament or whatever. They're like fucking hitting each other with chairs and shit. Looks like the WWF, dude. Like, you're not like, it's not like democracy like what you see in America. Like, so I don't know, whatever. And plus, any third world country that blocks Twitter or Facebook is probably really fucking smart. Because if you've ever heard of the Arab Spring, you probably don't want Twitter or Facebook in your country anymore.
Yeah.
As a third world country enemy of America. So.
Well, that's the one thing I don't understand about the whole Twitter ban, like banning Trump, because I mean, I agree he did foment and incite the Capitol protests that turned into the violence and the storm of the Capitol building. But you have people on Twitter, like you have active ISIS accounts, and Ramzan Kadyrov is literally on Twitter, and he's performing ethnic cleansing of anybody who is not of Muslim origin or like practicing in his country. I mean, Facebook in 2016, Myanmar organized the cultural or ethnic cleansing of the Rohingya Muslims there, or Buddha, or no, they're Muslims, and they had to flee the country to mostly like Bangladesh, and you know nothing's happening to Facebook, and Parler gets shut down, like completely, like not even taken off of Apple Store, which is, you know, I mean, they have really stringent and strict policy to be on the store, but Amazon dropped their web servicing. I mean, that's what killed the company. Like, they're not even going to provide traffic for the site anymore. But I mean, like I said, these things have been organized and are still organized on Facebook and Twitter, and nothing happens to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy
No, for
because
sure.
I was reading the book Like War, where it goes into like the whole history, and like they talk about like the rise of like how terrorists are able to use like Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all that stuff to get followers and to post propaganda. And yeah, they're not like, that's still out there, but no one stops them, you know. But as soon as a bunch of people that you don't like get in one platform like Parler, because it was pretty much just like all right, like all Trump type supporters, right, that were on there. So they like probably saw it as like a flag and just like, nope, we're out of here or something, you know. That's the only thing I can think of, because
Well, it
they
comes
shut it
down
down
to like
fast.
it comes down to like, if you guys have ever seen the movie The Social Media, like it's one of the more memorable lines from the movie, but he says, if you would have invented Facebook, you would have invented Facebook. And that's the whole point. Parler is not Facebook, so therefore it can goodbye. We'll see you later. Like, you're not one of the 7 tech companies that control everything. So see you later.
I think there's this is kind of an instance where like many things can be true at once. Like you know, Twitter, Amazon, all the folks that go up on Capitol Hill and point the finger at each other for having a monopoly and for the reasons why they have a monopoly. I think that you know, in one instance, it's true that they understand that they have monopolies, right? And you want to have a monopoly, and you don't want any other players in town. And so they're say, hey, if you want, basically by saying like, hey, start your own platform, what they're telling you is start your own monopoly. Like, you start your own monopoly, see how easy it is. And they just box you out, right? Like they've monopolized this. So that's one thing that's true, right? Like, they have a monopoly and they're willing to weaponize. They're willing to use it to cut competitors out of the game and make sure that you don't have you know, a space outside of theirs to utilize. I think it also can be true that they have a political aim and that they've weaponized this to achieve political ends. I think that that could be true as well. I think it also could be true that they actually believe what they're doing is benevolent and that they actually have this Silicon Valley, I've been microdosing every day so I can see the future type of fucking mentality where they think they're doing the best thing by the American population by not giving a bunch of people what they perceive to be redneck rubes a platform to just consolidate and a forum where they can get together and make all their mischievous plans to overthrow the government or storm the fucking Capitol building. And I think that all of those things can simultaneously be true at once. And one more thing that I would add is that, like, you have to remember when it comes to stuff like Facebook or Twitter or any of these types of social media entities, they run on what are called network effects. And if you're not familiar with what network effects are, network effects basically say that the more users you have, the more power you have. And then that's how something takes off, right? Like Facebook wouldn't be Facebook if only 10 people liked it, right? You have to have this explosion of a user population in order for Facebook or Twitter to be what they are. And I think that there's also something to the fact that like Parler just didn't have that. It didn't have the traction to where your everyday American feels attacked that Parler's kicked out of the App Store. They just don't fucking care because there just wasn't enough network effect there. There wasn't enough people using Parler to make it worth anything to anybody.
No, yeah,
Not saying
yeah.
that's right. I'm just saying, this is a situation where we have many things that are true at the same time. It's not so cut and dry as black and white, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, that's one of the interesting things about these big tech companies, because I don't believe, and Jack Dorsey has even said it himself. Well, I mean, who knows? Who knows really with that guy? But he says he doesn't want to have the power that comes with running these giant social media companies, like the power of, essentially deplatforming the president. Like he doesn't necessarily want that, or at least he says he doesn't. But one of the reasons why I don't think that he does want that power is because if they don't have that Section 230 protection, then anybody can come after them, and they do this thing where they do suspend or remove people from the platform for inciting violence, because if anything crazy were to happen, they don't want to be liable or be sued for allowing it to happen on their platform. So they're trying to be as reactive as possible to try to mitigate the damage or prevent it from happening in the future. But then again, I think he also gets addicted to having that power just because power corrupts absolutely. So, he's a fucking weirdo, man. He doesn't eat
Yeah.
for weeks at a
I think he
time.
talks. Yeah.
Drew, real
Talks a
quick.
big game.
Sorry, Joe. Hold on. Drew, real quick. Can we just talk about 230? Because you brought it up, just at a precursory level for
Yeah.
anybody who might be listening, doesn't know what 230 is. Can you give a quick, just overview on that?
Section 230 essentially protects these huge social media platforms from defamation happening on there. So if you say something defamatory about somebody, you can't sue the platform because it was said on there. So it falls along the lines of they're protected technically under free speech. Unlike a newspaper, where if you're publishing something, it has to be verified, and if it gets published and it is defamatory, then they're they don't have Section 230 because they should have gone through the right routes to check it, and now you can be suing the paper or something for libel because that's print. But yeah, it basically affords these huge social media companies protection, so that people can't routinely go after them for something that happens on their site.
Yeah, I guess that's probably one of the bigger questions, Joe. Sorry, back to what you were saying, but yeah, I just felt like 230 probably was important because, we've had a yellow journalism thing, the muckrakers back in the day, we've had all that stuff going on. So maybe this is our own version of the muckrakers, in our generation, I guess. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
I was just going to comment on Jack Dorsey. I would agree with you on saying that I think the power has maybe gone to his head a little bit. I don't know if I believe him, if he wants to keep the peace or if he wants to stay out of it, this and that. But I think a guy in his position, for the power that he has, I think that he's seen the power. He knows what it can do. And then I think he is political. I think he, that's my opinion. This is just me basing what I've seen off him, this and that. But I think he does, have a certain agenda in mind. like I said, I think that power goes to your head, man. I mean, how many people are on fucking Twitter? Like 88 million or something like that. You know,
I don't want to push back like too hard on that, like it's just pure speculation. But like I really think that I think he probably is telling the truth. I think Jack Dorsey is in charge of a public company that's way too fucking big, and I think that he has virtually no control over what happens.
Yeah.
I think he has almost
Yeah.
no control.
And I wouldn't doubt that. I
Like
would
zero.
definitely not doubt that at all. Yeah, I mean, especially with all the lawyers that are up his ass right now. You know, I mean, this is something that evolved over the last decade, and who would have foreseen this coming? You know, and how these social media companies would explode into, you know, just what they are right now.
Right. Yeah. When something is that big, there's so many moving pieces that the person at the top is like you can't control all that. You can try, but yeah, there's only so much you can do with companies that are this influential and this big. You know, there's millions and billions of interactions all the time. Like the algorithms can only catch so much. So yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think he definitely cared about like Trump rhetoric on the platform. Because you know, in all reality, Trump rhetoric on the platform is both simultaneously good for business and it's bad for business, right? Um, so for instance, here's my point is that Trump rhetoric is great for business because you get a lot of Twitter flow and you get a lot of action, right? Like lots of people want to follow Trump's account. Lots of people follow Trump's account. Lots of people want to interact, right? They want to talk about what Trump's talking about on Twitter. And that happens globally, right? So that's good for business. But where it's bad for business is that Donald Trump makes a stupid comment on Twitter and the stock market tanks or the stock market rips. Donald Trump makes a stupid comment on Twitter and violence happens. Donald Trump makes a stupid comment on Twitter and more federal regulation continues to fall on the shoulders of people like Jack Dorsey and his board. His investors don't like that, right? He runs a public company. That means that people, his investors, shareholders run that company. They don't like that. They don't want that. People don't want regulation. So when you have someone on your platform who is routinely making your life a fucking nightmare, and once again, let's remember, this is the United States. Everybody wants to focus on the presidency. This country is not governed by strictly the executive branch. There's lots of action happening all over the government. And so when you have someone creating a federal nightmare for you that is going to continue perpetually for the next 30 years, even after Donald Trump is out of office, do you think that the pain of Section 230 and the drama that comes associated with it is just going to go away because Donald Trump went away? No, Donald Trump is just highlighting why these social media companies need to be regulated. So of course they want distance between them and Donald Trump. In my opinion, it's almost completely apolitical and it's purely business. They want Donald Trump on fucking Jupiter. They want him as far away from them as possible so that they can continue to make as much money unregulated within their monopoly as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's honestly, I think that's really all it comes down to.
No, that makes sense because why would they're just making waves, you know? Now you got to go to Senate committees. You got people up in arms thinking that you're the bad guy now because you're not, because Trump and Trump supporters are saying this stuff, and if he wasn't president, Trump would have been banned a long time ago. I'm sure.
And like to Drew's credit, you know, not to discredit what Drew was saying, like, sure, the Chinese, they talk about it on Twitter, you know, sterilizing the Uyghurs on Twitter. They fucking talk about it openly. But that doesn't make the federal United States government want to regulate Twitter. Mm-hmm. What makes the United States government, what makes senators and congressmen start talking about regulating Twitter is Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, unfortunately, this, in my opinion, appears to the average everyday person as a political scenario. And in reality, to me, it's strictly business, man. Like, don't fucking regulate me. That's it. Just like if I ran an oil company and I had a big oil spill, I would pay whoever the fuck I had to make sure it didn't make national headlines.
Right.
Put that on page 10. Just get it back there somewhere where people don't see it because I don't want to get regulated, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's not political, man. It's strictly about business. That's my intuition on it. How do you guys feel about that? Because I think that's not a hot take. And I think that's not something that people talk about regularly. So what do you got? What's your guys' take on that?
No, I agree. When you have essentially the one person who is talking about regulation, or at least a person who can get a following like Donald Trump can, where he's got about 80 million people following him, and you're like, hey, we need to do something about the way that these media companies are run because look at all these things that are going on. But like I said, there nobody cares about the latest ISIS video that goes up that shows them torturing somebody to death or whatever. It only, everybody is very focused on like their nationality or nationalized like centric something anything that's relevant to them. Like it's like what you were talking about last week, Rob. Like everybody views kind of our worldview from we're the center, and it's us looking reflecting on ourselves, and it makes us look kind of bad. So or definitely questions like what they're doing, and it brings up these questions like there could be someone who's a really ambitious attorney general right now watching this, and they're like, why aren't the social media companies regulated like a utility? Like maybe we should do that. Or like somebody who specializes in monopolies is like, oh yeah, these are a monopoly, or the monopsonies, or whatever you want to like whatever your choice is to define them, and starts coming after them. So
It's fair.
it
I
elevates
think,
their platform,
yeah.
raises the awareness,
And there's no doubt about it. I think it does it on both sides, though. And I think that's a shocking thing right now. Obviously, Donald Trump first one, big first ban and stuff like that, and there was other conservatives. But when you have other examples, especially throughout the summer with the rioting, and especially with politicians saying that we support the rioting, we support you guys getting out there in the streets, the COVID lockdowns and stuff like that. Sorry if there's a lot of background noise. But how come we didn't ban before that? How come we didn't do anything before that? And then here comes Donald Trump, and he's going to be the first example. I think that this is the federal response this summer and all aspects, right, and stuff like that was as every other government agency. So it's kind of that was more surprising. I would like to see take a better stand on everybody across the is that standard.
You broke up a lot, Joe. Sorry. I think I got like a gist of what you were asking. And I would just make like just a couple points that like this isn't the first time. Many other people have been deplatformed, and I'm not saying that's the right thing. I actually would push back on you and say that like I don't want to see more of this. I don't want to see it applied more liberally, or like I don't want to see it be like this. The standard is like you just get punished and lose your platform. But two things I would say is one, Donald Trump is not the first. There have been others, Alex Jones being probably the most notable and the easiest to go with, where Alex Jones, the reason why he was deplatformed was because he said Sandy Hook was fake. And that a bunch of children, little kids who were murdered inside their school, he said their parents were crisis actors. That's what he said. And he was deplatformed for it. It's a dangerous thing. It's a dangerous thing to say that stuff, because then what happened was, to the facts that I understand, is that some of Alex Jones's followers started harassing the parents of these children. Oh, you're a crisis actor. We know you're working for the federal government. And if you're Twitter in that instance, what do you do? What do you do? You just say, no, I side with free speech. Or do you take the bad press of saying that the wacko conspiracy theorist with millions of followers, who has his followers harassing the parents of dead children from a national tragedy, do you just say, we side with him? No, man. It's business, dude. It's not political. It's business. And with reference to the riots were diffuse. Who do you want to ban? Who do you want to ban?
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to ban like the ACLU? Who do you want to ban? It's very diffuse, and that's what makes BLM and some of their strategizers so powerful, is that their movement is amorphous. You can't put a finger on it. You can't say it's this person that leads the movement. With Donald Trump, you can.
Yeah.
So
Good point with reference to Donald Trump. Definitely, you could definitely there. I think you could put some of that on some of the senators like AOC. You could put that on a couple politicians, just as much as Trump did it. I think you could put that on other people as well. Republican, Democrats, you are in that leadership position, like you're saying with Alex Jones, and you are, and you could reach so many people, millions of people. I think there's no doubt, I agree with you, you have a ethical responsibility to promote good news, appropriate news. So, sorry, hopefully I'm not coming in choppy.
No,
Yes.
it's actually a lot better that time.
Yeah.
Before I think you were I think it might be your soundproofing or whatever. You might have broken up just a bit before. It wasn't the worst, but yeah, no, I see your point. And like, yes, do I think that some of the things that AOC and some of these people say are irresponsible? Yes. Do I think that the magnitude, the proportionality is different between an AOC who's a fucking guppy compared to someone like Donald Trump, who's basically a great white shark? I think there's difference in proportionality there, with respect to their audiences. So
100%.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're looking at like from their aspect too of if you have a platform that is related to violence, why would, like, even if it is like, this isn't like a First Amendment thing, this is a private company that's like, I don't want to deal with negative publicity in any matter, right? So they're all, like, I'm not that surprised that this is happening. I guess it's probably the fact he's the president is the only reason why this is like such a big deal, right? If he wasn't president and this was happening, everybody would be like, yeah, well, it was bound to happen eventually, if the dude, because like, why would you want to have that publicity? Why would you want to have that type of environment on your platform that's just going to cause you more of a headache and make your job harder? So
well, it's exactly like what we talked about last week, which was in this similar vein where does free enterprise get to dictate, or does the Constitution get to dictate? And does freedom of speech override free enterprise? And this is where it's a classic problem, like I mentioned last week, for conservatives, is that they want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want businesses to be able to do whatever they want, and they want, at the same time, they want businesses to be able to do whatever they want, but at the same time, they don't want them to infringe on whoever's rights, which requires regulation. And typically conservatives are very slow to say, yeah, we want regulation. So, this was bound to happen. It was bound to happen for sure, whether it was Trump or anybody else, for sure. It was going to happen.
Right. That's the oxymoron of running a company like Twitter or Facebook. They want to have the biggest or the most amount of followers possible. Well, this comes, in line with that. Like, the more and more people you're going to attract to your profile or to your platform or have on the platform, essentially the more responsibility you're going to have for what happens on it. So
right,
you can't, yeah, I mean, you nailed it. Can't have your cake and eat it too. So
yeah,
or you got to be very careful about how
I
you regulate that or manage it. So
I agree, but do you guys believe with that being said, Rob, do you guys believe that being a conservative means that there's no regulation, or do you think that there should be a little regulation, being conservative, Republican, or are we getting into are we kind of going into libertarian?
No, yeah, exactly. I think you just kind of hit it on the head there. Like, I don't think being conservative means you believe in no regulation. That's like the libertarian argument. That's more of a, it's more of like an anarchist libertarian fucking style argument. Regulation is a fact of life. Like, if you want to live in a civil society, for instance, like my free speech ends, or, my freedom, I should say, let's just generalize this. My freedom ends where it impacts your freedom, right? Like, we accept that in our social contract, like every day when we operate in society. I don't have the freedom to take your stuff, right? Because that impacts your liberty and your pursuit of happiness. So, I think being conservative has more to do with sticking to traditional values, to where if we've regulated something and we've said like, hey, this is how we think it should be, you need to do a lot more proving to me that we need to change it before I'm ever willing to even entertain it. I don't think there are virtually any conservatives that entertain or support things like laissez-faire capitalism, which laissez-faire capitalism is capitalism without regulation. It's wanton, unregulated capitalism. We have price controls, we have price floors, we have price ceilings, we have taxes, we have lots of regulation imposed on our system. So I would say more like what I said last week, to try to be just consistent, is that, I think that companies are well within their rights to do whatever they'd like to do. And it's the responsibility of government and the electorate more largely or more generally to elect the right people to solve these problems. They're problems, but they're not problems that we need to go to war over. We don't need to have a fucking civil war over Twitter. We don't need to invade the Capitol and spill American blood, over infringements on Twitter. This is purely something that can be rectified, on Capitol Hill for sure.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
it's
Yeah, I think we all agree with that. I think everybody. Sorry, Drew. Interrupt.
it's just
everybody peaceful transition.
it's a interesting study on. Are you guys familiar with the horseshoe theory of politics?
Oh no.
Hit me. Is it like
Yeah,
grenades?
A little bit, not really. So it's the more extreme you get on the ends of the political spectrum. So like you get your left and your right. So the more extremes that you have, the further you go down, your respective left or right, they actually go up and they kind of meet in the middle. And it's interesting that Joe would equate freedom or like no regulation with being conservative, when that's literally what being a Democrat or being liberal stood for so long. But it's interesting because they've gone so far with trying to protect the rights or feelings or preventing hate or violence against like everyone. They've kind of eaten their snake that's eaten their own tail. So you can't say certain things because that hurts someone's feelings, or it's hate speech towards that group, or it's harmful to them. Where you have the Republicans on the other side who are just trying to get out their crazy political ideologies as well, but these companies coming down on them and regulating them, and them screaming for, like, you can't regulate my speech, or you can't censor me. So it's just an interesting how that kind of flips, or how they turn on what, like, their own group
No, totally.
or ideals.
So what do you guys think it'll end up? I think that's a great analogy. And I mean, like, so where do you think it goes? Because I think it's similar to how we talk about a lot how the pendulum swings, right? Like, the pendulum might swing real hard left, it might come back just as hard or even harder right. Like, where do you think it goes from here? At least from the censorship debate and with social media companies.
I think it's going to get a lot. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just gonna say, I think I'm interested to see how much it moves after Trump's gone, and if it kind of dies again, because now that Trump's not coming, they're not gonna let him back, right? He's not coming back to Twitter, at least not anytime soon, right? So, I'm curious to see how much it just falls out of people's mindset. They're not mad every day when Trump gets up and tweets, so they don't think about it anymore. Now they're worried about Biden's first 100 days, or they're worried about what's coming down with the new COVID stuff, or when are they going to get their $2,000 checks, right? So I'm curious to see if it just kind of dies in the water now, like everything else in this world. 24-hour news cycle, man. What's cool today or important today isn't tomorrow. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm interested to see in how long it takes them to turn on Biden.
Okay.
Does he even get his first 100 days, or are they gonna get him before that?
No, dude, he'll get something. Same thing with Obama. He'll wear a tan suit, and that'll be the worst of it. So, the media is going to be on the side. I think people are going to lose jobs with Biden getting into office. They're not going to have anything to bitch about.
I mean,
interesting take.
I think people complain more about him just wearing a tan suit, but I know what you mean. Maybe he didn't get the hardest, he wasn't under the microscope the most out of the last couple of presidents, but
well, it's like playing the gray man, right? Trump was not playing the gray man, so when people came at him, they came at him versus, if you try to play the gray man, to where like they only going to be able to get you for a gray suit, so they try to come at you as hard as they can with the gray suit because they got nothing else. You know, if Trump wore a gray suit, it'd just be another day of Trump doing something crazy, right?
Well,
You know?
Obama's a politician. Trump is not. Like he clearly
True.
demonstrated that over 4 years. Like he just knows. Obama knew how to play the game much better. Like he's the kind of guy that tells you to go fuck off to your face and you thank him for it.
That's super true, man. And I
Yeah.
mean, dude, he cut his teeth in the Windy City, man. I mean,
Yeah.
where does the Windy City get its name? You know, that's fucking
Mhm.
politics, baby. So I think you're
Aim
right
to
on that,
win.
100%. Yeah. All right. So I think I think we owe our listeners a couple other things. I mean, departing from the censorship debate, unless you guys have any kind of final nails to put in the coffin, Mike, you brought up $2,000 checks. That's totally in the works on a Biden stimulus. We could talk about that. But I think before we get there, maybe we should hit impeachment. I think impeachment's the big one. We've got, Donnie T taking national history here, being impeached twice in one presidency without ever getting a single blowjob. It's fucking it's crazy metrics for America. So what are you guys thinking? Any big facts or anything you guys want to put out?
Do you guys know how many impeachments there have been of presidents?
Ever? I'm
Three
gonna
before this, right?
I'm gonna say it's more than that. I'm gonna say it's in the teens. I'm
Okay.
gonna say 16. 16.
How
All
many?
right.
Wait, 16 what? What was the question? Sorry.
How many presidential impeachments there have been in the U.S.?
4.
Okay, Joe. Mike nailed it. It's 4, and Donald Trump owns half of them.
This is way off.
I know
Oh my
that
God.
from I actually listened to a podcast this morning that was talking about that. There's only been
Oh,
2
really?
other
You son of a
ones,
bitch.
and
You
then 2 of
son
them
of a
were
bitch.
Trump. Yeah, because they were like, yeah, it's only been 2 others in the history, and now there's 4. and
Really?
Trump
Was it
doubled
Nixon and fucking Clinton
No,
and then 2 for
Clinton.
Trump?
Nixon wasn't impeached. It was Johnson and Clinton.
Oh, Johnson and
Andrew
Clinton.
Johnson. Yeah,
Oh,
he was the
man.
first person impeached.
All right. Well, I was way off.
Yeah,
I tried to
and
prices right it. I didn't know the right answer, so I tried to go
you
high.
went big. You
I
went
went
big.
big, and it failed.
Yeah.
This is the first time it's not worked on the podcast, so
Yeah,
I just want
true.
everybody to know that.
Yeah, when you said
So-
16, I was like, wait, what's the question again?
Yeah, yeah. Dude, could you imagine if we
It's-
impeached 16 presidents? That'd be crazy.
That'd
But-
be literally almost half of them. We're at like 46 now. It'd be like, that'd be bad. So.
Do you guys think he's gonna get convicted? I mean, he already got impeached, but so like the Senate has to vote on either quitting or convicting the president. Do you guys think he's gonna get convicted this time?
Before you guys answer that, hold on. Do we think it's actually gonna? Quick question, caveat to that. Do you think it's actually gonna even happen prior to him exiting office?
No, not prior to him exiting
Oh.
office. I think it'll happen after, but
All right, so that's my big. All right, so now everybody can answer as you wish, but like I'm more interested in the question of like how this works if it doesn't happen while he's in office. But
I don't I see. I'm kind of split because I wonder if they do it as a staple or like setting like grounds, because everybody's kind of, especially on the party, like the Republican Party's already kind of made their sense that they're kind of like over it. McConnell's over it. He's already said he doesn't kind of backlashing against Trump. So I'm kind of, part of me is wondering if they're going to make it as a statement, and I saw something from McConnell that said they're going to convene Tuesday for it. So, and Wednesday is Wednesday's it, right? So I'm wondering if they do some last minute shenanigans and at the last hour they convict him and impeach him, or just at the very end, you almost made it, but you didn't, So I don't know.
give him hope.
I'm kind of wondering if they go that route or not,
I think he gets convicted. He's a goner.
before or
Really?
after Wednesday.
I want to say after, man. For sure. 100%. Yeah, I don't think they can get it done this quick. And I think that I think he's got a high chance of being convicted because of unless it's just pure, unless I'm getting tricked by the signaling and people are just saying I supported an impeachment just to save their own fucking gills. I don't know. I have a feeling that my intuition is that all through Donald Trump's, like, remember the turnover document that I sent you guys on how many fucking people have gone through that administration?
Mhm.
Hundreds
Yeah.
and hundreds of
Yes.
people that have just been turned over. I mean, for everybody that's listening, if you guys just Wikipedia or Google Donald Trump's administration, you look who has filled his various cabinet and different positions that he's allowed to select. I mean, dude, he has turned these people over like it is straight up a reality TV episode. I mean, it is crazy. So my intuition tells me that for the past 3 years, people in DC have fucking despised him. And they were waiting, like, kind of like fucking the Senate was waiting for Caesar, just for the right moment to everybody just plunge their knives in his back and fucking kill him off. And that's exactly what I think is happening right now. I think everyone sees the writing on the wall. The election is over. It's safe. We know Biden is going to be the new president with a new administration. We no longer have to deal with any of Trump's wrath. Let's all fucking kill him. That's exactly what they're doing. So, like, I don't know, that strikes me as pretty powerful. I think he's got a good chance of getting fucked.
That's an interesting corollary to Caesar, because do you know what happened after they killed Caesar? It ushered in the end of democracy in Rome, and they had over 300 years of rule under an emperor dictator in the entire country.
That wasn't where I was going with that. Wink, wink. But hey,
I'm just saying.
when you're right, you're right. What are you going to say?
Good reference to Caesar, though. I didn't.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. But
Yeah.
That's a thought process. It's kind of it could happen.
See, there's a Rome series on Netflix. There's an entire series dedicated to Caesar. Check it out. Would recommend.
Me and Mike nerd out on Rome series books all the time. Mike's been reading about Rome for a long time. We've been bullshitting about that for a while.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, but
I like the old Rome Greece history.
For sure, it's always interesting. I don't think they'll hold the conviction trial or convention, whatever it's called, hearing before the inauguration. And I just think that the Congress can only do one thing at a time, and I just think it's really disingenuous. Like, I understand they want to prevent Trump from running in office again. I think definitely a lot of people on the left, for sure. But there's just so many other things to worry about now, like these stimulus checks or what we're going to do about stimulating the economy. Vaccine distribution's a big fuck up that they need to get under control. What's this transition going to look like from the Trump administration to the Biden administration? Like, there's a lot of talk about what his first 100 days are going to look like. He needs to get a start on that right away. So, like, it's what I talked about a little bit last time. Like, I would be surprised if they impeached him again. I mean, they ultimately did, just because you're devoting so many resources to doing it. And then, I don't know if you guys know, but in order to get a conviction in an impeachment trial in the Senate, you have to have a 2/3 supermajority. And I don't think you're going to get enough senators that flip on them. I just don't think it's going to happen.
How many people is that? How many people are in the Senate total? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's
You
100.
scum.
I don't.
You scum.
It's 100. Okay.
It's
I
like
don't.
250, 250.
It's 100, right? Drew just
There's-
said it.
No.
Yeah.
We have 50 states, and you get 2 senators from each state.
It's
Uh,
we're not winning over the hearts and minds of the audience here. God.
Math is hard, but
But
Good.
yeah, that is a good point. The 2/3
So you-
majority. That's gonna. That's
so
a
yeah,
whole
you need
nother game.
66
Mhm.
people to convict him, and even though the Democrats have a majority in the Senate right now, I just don't think you're going to get that amount of Republican senators to flip on him.
That's fair. No, that's a fair assessment too, because I'm pretty sure that he had a lot of not a lot, but he had some folks out there that were stopping the steal.
Yeah,
So-
and for historical context, the impeachment proceedings in the House, this was the most bipartisan impeachment. So this was the most along the lines of party lines an impeachment has ever been conducted in the U.S. history. So what was it? Was it 10 or 12? I can't remember. 10 or 12 House Representatives crossed over. It was 10. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, also, I mean, like, not to poo poo on that comment, but I mean, you only had 4, right? So I mean, historical precedent here is,
right. True.
you know, a
Very-
little
sample size
little weak
very
tea.
small. Very
yeah,
small.
sample size is
Yeah.
tiny, but I mean, nonetheless, worthy nonetheless. But just saying, like, I don't know. I feel like we're in for a bumpy ride, I guess is more what I'm trying to point out. I think that these are amazing and incredible facts to drop because I did
Mhm.
not know that.
What do you think, Joe? You think he's gonna get the boot, or you think he's getting acquitted?
Well, I mean, I think that's the big question. Can you impeach after this? Can you? I mean, people are saying that you can only impeach a president. So if he's out of office here in the next couple of weeks, you know, like I don't foresee it happening in the next couple of weeks before he gets. Not even next. What's the day? The 15th.
Yeah, today's
Wednesday.
15th.
Yeah, it's
Got
Wednesday.
5 days,
You know, so Biden,
including today.
Yeah, so Biden's getting in 5 days. Can they make it happen? I don't see it happening. But I think the bigger question, like Rob brought up too, is like, are we going to drag this out for 2 months, 3 months? Or on average, they said it takes like 83 days to impeach a president.
Yeah,
that's what McConnell was saying. So
yeah, but why? Why do you
if
think? Why do you think it has to be before they exit office?
I don't, and that's the only reason that I would say that is from what I've heard and looked at the definition of impeachment. But
Right.
the definition of impeachment, you can't impeach a non-president, right? Like I think we'd have to.
Hey, why not? They're trying to force the 25th Amendment on Trump every week. So
Yeah, I know.
But that's what I mean, though. I think that when there's a will, there's a way, and I think the way this year is gone, would I be surprised if they did it 2 months from now? No, not at all. I could definitely see it happening, and especially for that second term, like they keep talking about.
I mean, I'm no constitutional lawyer, nor am I a constitutional scholar, but I know that we try to adhere to the spirit of the Constitution and certainly not the letter of the Constitution. So,
Right. It's all how it's interpreted, right? So we have
yeah,
no
exactly. Like, I
justices.
mean, do you guys know what, like, okay, so like you're allowed to impeach a sitting president over treason, bribery, and high crimes and misdemeanors. Do you guys know what the 18th century version of high crimes and misdemeanors were? Because I fucking don't. I don't know what the strict interpretation of that is, right?
Yeah,
like, I mean, who
definitely
does?
Definitely not.
Mhm.
So the letter of the law there and the intent, I think, are two totally different things. But yeah, I'm not sure. That's my concern because, like Drew said, my concern is, are we going to drag this out? Because, sorry to repeat myself, but like Drew said, we have a lot going on, man. We got to get this fucking country back on the tracks, dude. We can't keep fucking around with vaccine rollout, opening the economy, all of these things. And so, dragging out an impeachment as well, I think is a major distraction. Although I'm pro impeachment, gotta say, I'm pro. I'd like to see him lose the Secret Service detail. Because I wanted to cut up some audio bites. I will cut them and have them into, for our listeners, I will cut them into the main podcast. We've been working with some new audio things through Mike. Just as a side note here, so I didn't want to introduce more complexity today than was necessary since we're moving through some new audio changes. But I wanted to cut up some of Donald's speech and at his rally prior to the Capitol fiasco. And I wanted to play it and I wanted you guys to hear it and I wanted to get your take on it. And I want to include it in our actual podcast edit that will be on Apple and Spotify, available everywhere. But essentially, Trump tells his constituency to march on the Capitol. He doesn't say march. He says, go to the Capitol. I'll be there for you. I'll be there with you. Go to the Capitol. And then what did Donald do? Donald and Giuliani and his sons, they got in their limousines and they went back to the White House. And then his constituency stormed the fucking Capitol. And then afterwards, the very next day, he said, we need to try them and charge them to the fullest extent of the law. This violence cannot be tolerated. I think it was just a major dickless move at the end of him foot stomping for months and months and months about election fraud. So I want you guys to listen to that audio, and I'd love to hear everybody's feedback next week on that.
Yeah, that's kind of his nail in the coffin, right? That's kind of what's put him over the edge, and that's kind of why I think a lot of people are on the impeachment train now. Is like, before they're kind of like, I don't know. Is it really that bad? Is it really impeachable? But I think with the comments that he made, it kind of sealed his fate, because you can actually have something that traces back to him instead of being like, just be like, well, prove it was related to him. But like now you have, like you said, you have the audio. And I think that's kind of the nail in the coffin why you're going to get a little bit of, have a higher chance of that supermajority, because people are just going to be like, yeah, man, like he kind of fucked up, like
I mean, Mike,
kind of set a standard.
let's look at the people that you were talking about earlier and kind of revisit that. I mean, you're talking about a litany of federal crimes. Somebody took an envelope from Nancy Pelosi's desk and getting charged with a mail crime.
Right.
Like, I mean, what kind of sentences do you get? Do you think they're going to be looking at 40 years, 25 years? I mean,
I'm curious.
Do you think Donald Trump is going to be there for them? Do you think Donald Trump's going to pardon them?
Yeah.
Pay their legal fees or provide them a defense.
Do you think that he cares that a lot of these people really, really, actually, truly believe that the actual election was stolen from them, and that's why they marched and tried to take what they believe was their house back, which, rightfully so, it is their house. He's not going to do a fucking thing. He's just going to abscond back out into the darkness, and I think it was just a dickless move.
I think it was a
yeah, it was definitely a political move. There's no doubt about it.
What was political about it?
No,
it was absolutely stupid. What did he do?
He was a politician. Fucking got everybody hyped up. Fucking telling them the Capitol. I agree with you on this. So I mean, I don't know if he should be impeached. Especially with the time frame and everything like that. But I agree with you. Like we're getting everybody fucking hyped up with the last couple months with the voter fraud and everything like that, and then you tell them like, hey guys. Hey, Capitol's right over around the road. We planned this whole entire meeting for the last couple of months, like march up to the Capitol and then you don't show up. It's what the fuck's going on here, dude? Like you're not going to take any responsibility for that. Like that's a typical political move on any side. You Democrat, Republican, again. Like if you're hyping people like that up and you're fucking getting them aggravated and amped up to go fuck up people, like you have to be responsible for your actions, and as a leader you need to say the appropriate things.
Dude, that's why I gotta push back on that. Like that's why that's not a political move. That there has never been in the history of the United States this much disregard for a peaceful transfer of power. We literally have armed National Guard service members at the Capitol, and they're going to be armed at the inauguration during the transfer of power. And as a politician, you run. Look, I understand game theory. You want to sow the seeds of doubt, like in case things don't come out good for you in the end anyway, especially somebody like Trump who has a very fragile ego. But you don't sow seeds of doubt to where you're fomenting an insurrection and creating a sedition and trying to purposely display a non-peaceful transfer of power. That's not a political move at all. That's not political savvy. Look at what it's done. It's put us in a precarious situation. It makes the country look bad. Not political at all.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that too.
It's just a fucking asshole who can't lose.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about that. I guess I'm just saying, like, I think that's all politics. Just like all politics are.
It's not though.
Fucking talk. They say a lot of things and then they never really back it up. I think that's what I correlate politics with. So, I mean, you say you're going to do.
I mean, that's just a general term, but
yeah, I mean,
it seems like he became the politician where he always said he was never going to be the politician. He was going to get rid of the swamp, and in the end, it's kind of like the Batman saying. I don't know, I forget the Batman saying, but do you live to see yourself become the enemy, or do you die early enough to be, whatever, the victor?
Yeah, I think anybody that believed that Donald Trump was going to be, the swamp drainer or any of these kind of things, like, I mean, the machine changes you. You don't change the machine, right? That's like, not to be tired cliche, but like, when we all went into the military, did you leave your mark on the military, or did the military leave its mark on you? Right? Like the machine fucking changes you, right? Like you don't change the machine. So I think, for the folks that, are disappointed that Donald Trump let him down, I feel bad for them. I feel a little let down too. But at the end of the day, I mean, you got to call a spade, man. And the dude, I think he screwed the pooch on this one pretty bad. But I mean, You know, look, I think we beat a dead horse with this a little bit. I mean, what do you got? I think we should try to transition over to, talking a little bit about the new administration. So if we do, whether Donald gets impeached, whether he doesn't get impeached, what we do know is that we do have a blue wave. Mike brought up $2,000 checks earlier. Biden's been working on an economic stimulus. There's lots of talk about what's going to be in it. Some confirmed, some not. I mean, what's your guys' thoughts in this arena? Kind of moving forward.
I can list them off to start like some of the topics, and then we can like pick and choose what you guys have if you want to go with that route.
Sure.
So some of the ones that I kind of highlighted was, as far as like just from even like the security of the inauguration, which we kind of touched with before, right? Like this is unprecedented security. I read 25,000 just got approved for the inauguration security, which is like that's like a substantial force. Like that's 4 times the amount of Afghanistan. Like that's a lot of fucking people.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. The other one is
Yeah, see, I never thought. Sorry for interrupting, Mike, but I didn't even think about that. That's pretty fucking crazy, man. That's,
I literally just got released like with it while we've been on the podcast that they upped the number to 25,000 for the national security for it.
Well, let's talk about that for a sec. Because like it's not good because, like once again, as we always say on this podcast, when the pendulum swings one way, it's coming back the other. And we saw what happened at the Capitol, and now look what's going to happen. Now you're going to have a Democrat president, who's going to be sworn in under the guise of 25,000 troops. That's fucking insane. He's going to have a standing army around him. It's very crazy, man. Like people may shrug this stuff off as not a big deal because in all likelihood, this is America and people like peace and people like McDonald's and they like to go home at night and sleep in their nice warm beds. Nobody's picking up AKs and trying to fucking start a revolution. So in all likelihood, those troops are going to march their asses back to their fucking garrison and we're never going to hear from them again. And everything's going to be hunky dory. But these are the scenarios where things get freaking weird, man. They get really weird, right? This could be the shot heard around the world type of scenario if there is any kind of violence at the inauguration,
Yeah, so. Mentioning that was going to bring me up a couple things that I was going to talk about was like, one is imagine the pictures coming down, like how they do the big, look how many people showed up to the inauguration compared to other presidents, right? Well, now you're going to have a picture, you're going to have a bunch of dudes in riot gear, right? Standing around like on security, checking IDs and all this stuff. Like that's going to be super weird and history forever, right? Dude. Comparing it,
J-Lo and Lady Gaga are going to be there too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, they're going to be performing live.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous. What a joke, dude. Is that really true?
Yeah.
What?
Sorry, Mike.
I didn't know that. So yeah. No.
What a joke.
I didn't know that's crazy. The other thing I was going to bring up was the no guns checked around DC airports around the inauguration. And like, I've seen up to 5 FBI said they have like credible threats of like inauguration attacks.
Now they're credible.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys' opinions on just like, what do you think the odds of an actual attack, any type of attack even happening in this type of environment, Or do you think a lot of it is just maybe, someone throws a shoe in a press conference type of thing? Or like, what do you guys think if there is a type of, outlash, what do you think it might be? Because I don't think I think it's a lot of angry people that probably will get wrapped up or won't actually come to fruition. But I can see the reason for the security restraints. But I wanted to get your guys' opinions on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's virtually no chance. I don't think that there's any real form of sedition going on. Like we talked about last time, or like I brought up last time, I think that this is a bunch of people who feel disenfranchised by the definition of that word. They feel that their votes don't matter. And so they're trying to express their political will in the way that they know how to, which is exactly like what we saw with the BLM protests / riots, where you had a bunch of people who literally feel disenfranchised. They feel like they're being attacked by their officials and killed by their officials. So they express their political will the only way that they know how, which is by burning shit down and fucking shit up. This is
Right.
this is what misguided people do.
The American way.
I mean, it's what misguided people do. It's not even the American way. I mean, this has happened everywhere. I mean,
Right.
you know, look at the French Revolution. What did everybody do after, as soon as the first strike fell on the French Revolution, every politician was like, I was on your side, right? They fucking did this shit. And they all got smoked for it, man, because they're all a bunch of fucking political prostitutes. And that's exactly what these people fail to recognize as they're engaging in these types of activities and risking their own lives, is that they're doing this shit for political prostitutes. They're doing this shit for people that don't really have their best interest in mind. So,
Yeah, I mean, for Joe Biden, who ran under the worst campaign slogan of all time, "Build Back Better," who's supposed to
it
be
really is
yeah,
so
who's-
bad.
who like one of like the big things of his whole political platform is that he's going to unify and heal the country. Like he's this great healer that's going to heal the country. Freaking the author of the crime bill himself is going to unify the country.
He's going to heal the racial divide.
Yeah, and he's gonna not to bring it back to the impeachment, but like he's gonna start this off with by impeaching the president, that he just succeeded over, or he's the successor of. Like that's gonna, well, one, it's already seems to be very partisan, so you're gonna divide the right even further from you. So, and then like on top of it, you literally have a standing army that's protecting you. Nothing's gonna happen to them. Like you've got to be insane to charge 25,000 people with rifles. Like there's nothing's gonna be happening. But it's just crazy, man. It's crazy we've gotten to this point.
Exactly.
For
Crazy how we got to this point.
for the fucking QAnon shaman who got kicked out of the Navy for not taking his anthrax vaccine and then was wiping feces all over the Capitol wall the next day.
Yeah, that was.
I don't think these are stable folks.
Yeah.
That's like why I wanted to bring it up too, right? It's because it's like, oh, sorry, Joe. Do you have anything else to add to that, or was kind of just on the? I don't think you got to answer that.
Nah, I'm good.
No, okay. Yeah, I was just like, I wanted to ask because like, do you like the amount of resources or ability you would need to pull it off on a normal type of inauguration? I don't think is the capability of the QAnon and stuff like that either. Not much less when there's 25,000 troops and all this other stuff that's going on either.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out because this is subtle propaganda. This isn't my hardline view, but dude, it fits a narrative perfectly, right? I mean, Joe Biden and the rest of the Democrat Party are playing on the fact that a bunch of white nationalists just stormed the Capitol to try to overthrow the American government, and that they came with flex cuffs and they came with pipe bombs and they came with weapons to take hostages and fucking kill people. So this plays right into the narrative, man. It plays perfectly into the narrative. This heightened security, this increased tension, it plays right into the narrative that we really need to get the GOP out of here. We need all of their ideas out of here because look at where it's gotten us. Look at the pictures, just like you said, is a perfect example. Look at the pictures of this inauguration surrounded by soldiers. This isn't America. This isn't what we want. This isn't what we want for our children, right? It plays perfectly into the fucking narrative. How far they play that narrative, I'm not sure, but it plays perfectly into it for sure.
No, that's a good point you brought up
Never let
because
that crisis
remember,
go to waste.
yeah, but like because remember they talked like they've been talking about like and Biden and the Democrats like we'll use the military to remove Trump if he doesn't leave peacefully, like so like they just kind of like he gave them their like white knight, like you gave us the perfect reason to justify doing what we've been talking about doing the whole time, and now we can do it and make you look even worse, like before they could have been looked at as like, oh, you're being crazy, you're being excessive, you're blowing it out of proportion, this and like all this other stuff, but now
Well, I think
it's warranted.
I think the real credence that they had in that, I don't know if you guys had seen the letter from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I personally have many things I could take issue with that I'm not going to talk about ad nauseum unless you guys want to. But, that letter basically said, in more ways than one, that like there's a side that we're on here for sure. So I think that's why they make those types of comments and why they talk like that is because, like I said, I think within DC for the past, 4 years, people have fucking hated Donald Trump. They really hate him. And they're willing now that they know that he's on his way out and he can't punish them for any type of dissent, they're just going to be crazy about it, and really try to hammer him. So
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. If you guys have anything else on the inauguration stuff, I can go to the next one that I had written down. The CARES Act stuff. That's a huge one. The big one, the $2,000 checks, are see how fast they come or if they come. I saw also the 100 million vaccines within the first 100 days.
Yep.
I also heard the priority of after healthcare workers is going to be schools, to get schools open again.
Mhm.
That's kind of the highlights I had. If you guys have anything else you wanted to touch on, I don't want to steal all the thunder, but
No, yeah, I mean, those are my biggest. That's my
Yeah.
biggest shit that I would complain about. Is actually pretty much all three items that you just hit. Well, actually, two of the items you just hit plus one. I don't like CARES Act. I don't like or CARES Act funding. I don't like vaccine funding, and I don't like state stimulus where you're going to pay individual states for recovery.
yeah, that one I thought was really interesting. If you want to go into that one a little bit, Rob, because I know you mentioned it earlier, and that one kind of blew me away a little bit because kind of seemed like a scapegoat.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's par for the course. So basically, what I'm talking about is and what we're all talking about here is the CARES Act stuff. With the checks, basically another stimulus check. They're talking about doing $2,000. In my opinion, the $2,000 number was pulled out of a hat, and it's just a bunch of bullshit. Essentially, when you think about a problem, right? Maybe you should think about who the problem is affecting and try to get resources to the people that are in the most dire need, right? If an earthquake strikes in California, God forbid, and it damages large swaths of San Diego and causes millions of dollars of damage, and they need critical medical resources, do you send a bunch of money to fucking San Francisco? No, right? It doesn't fucking make sense, right? It's just a stupid thing to do, and you wouldn't do it in any other scenario. So this is just purely a political gimmick, in my opinion, because there are people such as myself who I'm going to get cut a $2,000 check, which I don't need a fucking $2,000 check. There are people who are in dire need of a $2,000 check, and they should be the ones who get it. So the only loser here is the American taxpayer. Next, vaccine funding. Actually, I'm going to shelve vaccine funding because I don't want to talk forever. But the state stuff. So, I live in New York. New York is supposed to be receiving anywhere from $1 to $2 billion with a B in relief funds, according to this bill, this economic stimulus bill. And I think that for a poorly and extremely mismanaged city with a thoroughly hated mayor who forced itself into its own lockdowns, why would you cut a check to this state, which pretty much predominantly all of it's going to come to the city, right? Like we're the big hub. This is where the population center is. It just doesn't make sense to me, man. And it seems like a reward for a very, very bad executive government in New York that's really punished its citizens throughout the course of COVID. So those are kind of my takes on it.
Joe or Drew?
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I mean, don't have anything else to say other than it's just another. It's like it's not the same, but it's almost tantamount to the New Deal. Like a lot of what everyone really loves FDR for was, especially compared to Hoover, who was the guy that was the president before FDR became the president and took over the Great Depression, was that the reason why the New Deal was so revolutionary was that he was at least trying to do something to fix the situation at a government or federal level. And the people felt like that, at least the president is doing something to try to help us, even though if I'm sure Rob could answer this a lot better than I could. If you look back at, the things that the programs of the New Deal established, probably didn't do a whole lot to get us out of the Depression, and in fact might have continued it for longer than it needed to go on. But this is a lot of what this is. New York's been hit really hard by the disease, especially considering how many businesses and small businesses throughout the city have been affected, having to be shut down. So it's just, I mean, it's just this is politics right here. This is people doing a horrible, piss poor management of a situation where people are relying on them to make the correct decisions, and instead they're getting rewarded for their incompetence and their inability to coordinate a proper response. So, sucks.
Dude,
Amen.
Honestly, that's a good way for me to on Mike's question there. But yeah, government fucking sucks, man. Anything that government responds to, they have not done a good job. Whether that's state, whether that's California, New York, any other state, I guess, Arizona, Nevada, whatever. But it's just the response fucking sucks, man. So I would hope that the right people will get the right money. But even this last $600 stimulus check that we got, and even before that, they were looking at all types of studies, and they were showing that this money was going to all different types of people, this and that didn't need it. So if we could do it the right way and effectively, that would be the goal. But is it going to be done that way? Nah, probably not.
Now the whole state bailout thing that you were talking about, Rob, like blew me away because it's like I'm like thinking about it, going, they were playing the gambling game, right? If Trump loses and they get the Democrat in, they're like, all right, we're good. We're going to get bailed out. We're going to look like the heroes because we played the right card, right? We shut everybody down. We did our best, and now we're getting repaid for our good choices. We're going to have the economy back. We're going to bounce back better. Your worries about the economy is not a worry anymore. I was right. We're going to be good. Versus, them not getting the bail, and they actually have to build the economy back. Because I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about the last time something like this happened when a million people fled New York. Rob might know a little bit more about this. Like 1 million people fled New York City over some taxes or something, and like crushed their economy in New York. And it took them years to recover. So they were really worried about that for this, and now it's just like, okay, well, here's $2 trillion or $1 billion. I mean, you guys are good. Like it's a complete cop out for how they acted.
I think that like the biggest thing too is that it's just kind of antithetical to the federalist system that we have in place. Like the states should not rely on the federal government to bail them out of every mess that they get in. Right.
Mhm.
Like the states have their own forms of liberty, right? Like the federal government is there to help. And that those are our tax dollars that we do pay into the federal pot. But when Como tells me that I need to lock down, and he mandates that, and then he also dictates to the federal government that we need recovery funds because we're hit so hard, it's like, it's like that meme of the dude who sticks the stick in his own tire on his bike and falls, and he's like, oh, now you've got to pay my medical bills. It's like, well, dude,
Yeah.
that's not the way that this system is supposed to work, right? Like you're taking advantage of it. And I think it is purely political. But one thing that I wanted to bring up too that comes out of these, I wanted to pose this to you guys. And we don't have to go too crazy with it. I know we have some other topics we want to talk about, but another thing that Biden is very dead set on, student loan forgiveness, up $10,000. Which may also be a product of this, or may also be a component of this economic stimulus bill.
I was going to ask if it was part of it.
I think we've kind of covered this a little bit in podcasts previously. I think that some of our listeners probably already know where we stand, but maybe it'd be worth just kind of retouching it quickly, do a quick recap for anybody that's new, doesn't kind of know what we're thinking about in terms of these types of things. So. I was curious to see what you guys had to think about, or what you guys thought about it, especially given a new this crisis now, right? Like, so forgiveness in regular times, maybe you don't like it, but what about now?
I think it's I don't agree with it. Like I don't think that the student loan should be forgiven. We kind of already hashed this out before, like we said. This is not something that is tangible, or it's not a physical object or a material that you can reclaim because you didn't fulfill it if you ended up dropping out, or you can't take that education away once it's given to somebody. So there has to be something that these companies that are going to give out these loans can get back from you or take from you. And I think it's a very politically savvy move on Biden's part because it gives him a lot of good political will because it's kind of like it demonstrates, he's at least willing to do something about it. It's a half measure, but it's not Bernie Sanders, but I'm almost there. This is the best deal I could get you.
But that's the
It's true.
problem. And another, I'll go off of that too. But Bernie Sanders is the labor secretary for Joe Biden's administration, and that's one of the things that he said he was going to hit very, 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 very was student loan forgiveness. He was going to be very aggressive with it. So it would be great to have everybody go to college. It would be great to have everybody get some education and have $10,000 of loan forgiveness. But I guess the question is like, where do we get that money from? We brought up previously too, is like universities are private entities, right? So if you take out a loan to go to school, like you made that decision, right? Like you're going to school, shouldn't you have to repay it?
Wait,
Yeah,
did you say that? Did you say that? Sorry, I just want to make a quick correction. Did you say that Biden has Bernie Sanders as labor secretary?
Yeah.
Yeah. For
Is
his
that
new
true?
administration.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that's interesting.
I don't.
I heard that. I heard that 2 days ago. So yeah,
I'm not sure.
Bernie's
I'm not. I'm not 100% sure that that's true. We'll shelf that. Maybe we can do a quick Google check on that. But
I'll
at
give
any
mine
rate,
if you want to Google it real quick, somebody. I think that you made a good point with the fact that he was able to do, if he can get this through the CARES Act or any way that he can get it through. We talked about the CARES Act last week about it being like the catch-all, put anything in there you want because it's going to get passed. So throw everything in there. And forever from here on out, he'll be able to say that he got some form of student loan forgiveness passed, and he's working on another form. It gives him that credibility forever that he could do something, that no one else could do. But I'm fully with you guys on the whole student loan forgiveness thing is it's dumb because your education should be an investment in your future, and you shouldn't be able to just be like, okay, I went to school for 4 years and now you should pay off my loans and I'm not even gonna do it for school, or like, what about the guys who drop out now and have, they didn't graduate, they made it to the last year, they have $50,000 in student loans and they don't even have a degree. Do they still get student loan forgiveness because it's still a student loan? So there's a lot of ways that that people that you're gonna pay for their stuff,
And Biden's labor secretary is Marty Walsh.
yeah. Okay, Marty Walsh. Okay.
I thought if he's not that, I'll have to look into it. I thought he was on.
No, it's Marty Walsh. Like
we had some comments in chat that he's considering it's not a done deal for sure. It's definitely not a done deal, but I mean, even just throwing it on the table that it's that's a possibility that you're going to provide 10,000 because so here's where I would go with it. Why, like, even as a possibility, I think it needs to just be shut down. Is that the average national debt, by the last numbers that I saw, is hovering around national debt for student loans is hovering around somewhere around $30,000. So we forgive $10,000 of it. We already know that for these Americans that owe this money in student debt, their marginal dollar is not going to repayment of this debt. So now you're giving them a free $10,000. Are you increasing their welfare? Are you increasing their utility? Are they going to have more pocket money? Are they going to be able to start families? Are they going to be able to send their kids to college? Are they going to be able to buy homes? I don't think any of that stuff changes by forgiving $10,000 of what is, on a national average, $30,000 in debt. I think there's zero welfare change there. And so I think it does need to be talked about because it seriously is just a purely political move. Yeah, just a purely political move. Like, I'm going to cut you a $10,000 check. And since I can't unilaterally do it, I'll do it through student loan forgiveness,
Yeah, it's a weird, I guess, like, voter grab too, because everybody a lot of the voter base of people that want student loan forgiveness are people in college, right? Around college age that either still have student loans or in college, right? And so of course that's going to be their huge voter base that are going to be like, yeah, this is an easy pass. I just think if everybody can go to college essentially for free, then now you got a lot of people wasting time in college getting degrees they're never going to use that we're all paying for, you know? Because how many people would go to college if it was free and get some bullshit degree that's going to cost them 50 or 60 grand and never use it, versus if they got to pay for it and actually work for it and actually want to be interested in the topic to do it, you know? Like, because I guarantee you, if I was like, we're all vets, so we're using our GI bills. If I had to pay for college, I'd have a way different aspect on college, you know, because I'm investing a lot more money into it, you know. So, and I think
Yeah,
that's
I
an
mean,
important role of it.
I don't think free college is necessarily on the table, although maybe it is in some ways. I know we have free college here in the city. There are particular universities here in the city that offer free college if you're under a certain income threshold for your household. I think, for me, to be completely honest, I have no real problem with free college, because if I think most college is useless anyway. Like we've spoken about this on many, many times before on our previous podcast. Most people go to college and they never use their degree anyway, right? So it's pretty fucking useless. So okay, you want to federally subsidize it, whatever. That's on the states to lobby for that money. That's on the states to get that federal subsidy. And most of the time the states do it on their own and they don't use federal funds to do that. So whatever. I mean, whole nother topic, but at the end of the day, I guess my real bone to pick is that purely the only loser here is the American taxpayer when you're going to cut somebody $10,000 student loan forgiveness. And then there is no welfare gain by the person who gets the $10,000 forgiveness, because on average they owe more than that. So I just don't really see it tying into anything that they're using the policy for, such as, investments in the future for people having families or buying homes or whatever. And buying homes, it's like, yes, we're at the top of the market in some respects for housing, but it's like, dude, you couldn't get a fucking cheaper loan. I wonder like what our parents paid, or people our parents' age. I wonder what they paid in 1980 for a house. Interest rates are probably fucking 14%, 12%. Interest rates are at all times. Like they couldn't get closer to zero. I don't know. I'm of the firm belief that people can't buy houses because they like avocado toast. They pay $20 for fucking avocado on bread. It's poor savings, man. It's poor budgeting. It's poor management or poor discipline,
Yeah, I guess I would like to retract a little bit and say not free college, but I think there should be maybe like some programs. So like if you would invest, like I think there are some, like if you invest like 10 or 20 years into like civil service or something, then you get like some of it cut down. Like I would be more for those than like a blanket check of here's like 20 grand out of like your student loans forgiven, like no work.
They have some
needed,
programs
nothing.
like that.
Yeah, like I
think some
I'm
of
okay
them are
with those,
insane
but-
too. I think some of them are nuts. Like, like you have to teach in a low income district for 10 years to have your student loans forgiven as like a teacher. I'm like, dude, what teachers are you attracting with that policy? Like, that's not like what? You're telling me I have no choice in where I work? You've basically just made me a government mule for the next 10 years. Like, I don't think that's a reasonable policy at all. But yes, I agree with you, Mike. I'm just saying that one was the first that came to mind. And I think it's just a hilarious example.
But yeah, we can move on to the next one unless you guys have anything left on that.
Let's talk vaccines.
Vaccines, baby. The big one. You're the expert, man. You go first. You had Rona. You're the only one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't need the vaccine, baby. I'm good. I got that immunity.
Them sweet antibodies, baby.
Yeah, I got the real deal. I don't have that mRNA shit that people are killing over and dying of in Norway. But
it only lasts for so long.
Yeah, so his thing, or Biden's plan is he's going to roll out 100 million doses, right? They're going to try to do that and then train up, I guess, a bunch of people to administer the vaccine because the rollout has so far been atrocious. And then so maybe you could explain this, Mike, is his vaccine plan focusing on schools by giving all the teachers the vaccine? Because I thought if you're under 18, you couldn't get the vaccine.
I didn't read it didn't say the stipulations on who was getting it at the schools, but it said pretty much that the 100 million vaccines was 100 million, but they also didn't say if it was really going to be only 50,000 people because at 2 doses, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So
real quick. Let's just clarify that for all the listeners. That is the goal. That is Joe Biden's goal. 100 million vaccines within his first 100 days of office. Let's just to clarify that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. Yep. That's the thing
Yeah.
that I read that I wasn't sure about. So okay. And then the schools that was his next target. So it's probably then the teachers. They didn't specifically say like colleges or elementary or grade schools. It just said schools in general to try to reopen schools. So I don't know what the actual role, how the actual role is going to look. I couldn't find the actual details, but I thought that was interesting because that's also a big one too. Get the schools open by fall would be nice, right? If you can get everything
Yeah.
vaccinated over between now through the summer.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't look too deeply into the school stuff, but what I did see was that they were going to use FEMA and the National Guard to roll this stuff out. So far, we've gotten just over 12 million shots done in the US, which is like, dude, it's really bad. Like it's really, really
So
bad.
bad.
It's so bad.
Israel,
It-
and don't get me wrong, Israel has it has a very electronified record system, very robust, and much more homogenous population, lots of stuff going on there, but they've already done 15-20% of their population. We've done 12 million in a month. It's kind of crazy. So what I saw from the administration was, at first it was supposed to be 50 million within the first 100 days. He doubled it to 100 million. Biden is convinced that we can get it done. And they're going to use FEMA and the National Guard, which when he said, I'm convinced we can get it done, I was thinking, American ingenuity, we spit on our hands, we, get the chick with the bandana on, she's going to rivet some aircrafts. Like, we can fucking do this, dude. And then once he said FEMA, I was like, we're dead. We're dead. We're dead.
Well-
Everybody pack up.
Well, that's the other thing is like we need to get this so like there's a lot of questions to be brought up about the mRNA vaccines, like what their long-term consequences or side effects might be in the future here, but this vaccine needs to get rolled out because I don't know if people are paying attention to what's going on in either like the UK or in South Africa, but there are 2 unique strands of the virus that have already mutated that are coming out, and they appear to be highly resistant to the vaccine itself. And this is one of the consequences of trying to push science probably beyond its limits of what it can really, ethically, like with a high amount of efficacy, accomplish. And so you wanted a market solution to a problem that was disrupting the world or on a global scale was a big disruption. And we need to get this shit out of here. And if he was really serious about trying to get 100 million doses in the first 100 days, I mean, all 4 of us would be somewhere given fucking shot axes. Like, why aren't
Yeah.
we? Like,
Yeah.
the 4 of us in this call right now have given out more vaccines than I think, any healthcare provider that's been working in the field for 5 years.
No, it's 100% true.
Like,
And
why are you not utilizing the people that have done this before? And like, you just, okay, give us a crash cart and somebody who's like ALS certified, and get us someplace within a recent transport to hospital, and we can give out thousands of doses in a day easily.
I used to train people to do vaccines, and it's literally a bunch of little like online courses that you can do in a day, and then like a 1-day class on how to use it, and then you need somebody, a provider there and a crash cart. Stick me up somewhere, and I can start. I was doing it on a boat in the middle of an ocean, literally in waves, like 10-foot waves. Like, that's a really good point too. Like, you could really tap a lot of resources to push it out if they really wanted to. But
well, I
the
think
whole-
I think it's a fucking, sorry, Mike, just to throw this out real quick. I think it's a genius idea, and it's actually in practice, it's proven to work because they did that here in New York City. So like where I go to school, we have a lot of military veterans that attend my school, and basically there's a veteran nonprofit called the Special Operations Combat Medic Coalition. Great nonprofit. They came to town. They, with their various resources, they helped stand up a clinic that was in northern Manhattan, and it was completely run by all retired or formerly, served military medics. Completely the whole thing. They had obviously healthcare provider, like regular healthcare providers there that kind of oversaw the operations, but it was totally and completely run by former military medics. And it was great. I think I've told you guys about it. They ran it as a step down unit from, when people were very, very sick, they'd be in a hospital. And then when they were extubated and they came off of the machines, and they were making their recovery, they'd be sent to a step down unit to open up those beds. And that's essentially what this hospital was. And so the proof of concept is there. And you're right. The problem is that they don't have someone like you who's smart sitting in the room with them. They have a bunch of idiots who went to college and studied art or something, who are like,
Yeah.
oh, I think I have this really great idea. I took this public policy class once and I had to write a paper about how to, ingeniously transform the world when I don't know how to make my bed, So,
Well, Drew, to step back a second, when to go to the vaccine stuff with kind of making science move faster than it needs to. From what I've been reading with this new vaccine too, it's going to outcompete the new strains are going to outcompete the ones that are out there now. So essentially, the strain that we're vaccinating for now, or that's out there now, is going to get outcompeted by these new ones. They're potentially more contagious to younger populations and have more side effects.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the consequences of using an mRNA vaccine. So I'll like to just briefly explain how it works. Instead of using the actual DNA of the vaccine or the actual protein of the vaccine to create the actual T cell immunity or antibodies that you would get from exposure or like having the disease itself, the mRNA vaccine is just a piece of RNA that your body reads and it makes a protein for it. And the way that this vaccine works is the mRNA in the vaccine, it codes for the spike proteins that are on the outside of the coronavirus. And so what it's trying to do is it's trying to get your body used to recognizing that that protein, and so that it'll generate a slight immune response to it, so that when you are introduced to it again in the future, it won't, if you do get the coronavirus, it won't be as bad if you didn't initially get the vaccine, or hopefully because your body is already used to producing a slight immune response from producing that protein spike, that you won't get it.
Right.
But like it doesn't give you the complete immunity, because if the coronavirus, which these strands have already done and that they're seen out of South Africa and the UK, if the protein spikes on the coronavirus, if there's a genetic mutation in them, then the vaccine is essentially, or it could be completely useless. So,
right, which is the problem now, because everybody's kind of going out with this, oh, we're good now. Like I've already seen like people like, oh, I have the vaccine, I don't have to social distance anymore, I don't have to wear a mask anymore, I can go out with my friends. But essentially, we're gonna have another wave potentially coming in where we're gonna have to go through the same cycle again.
well,
Because
that's a bit of fatigue as well. Like people are just tired of it.
right, true, looking for any reason to kind of have a solution. So, but
well, we've got about 10 minutes left. Do you guys want to hit moratorium on executions real quick? Kind of give everybody. I mean, we've done already a hefty political episode. We can kind of hit this last, close out on a real somber note. Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah. I think it's fun stuff.
So
yeah,
on January 13th of this year, Lisa Montgomery in Kansas was executed, and she is the first woman to be executed in the United States in 66 years, and the fourth woman overall. She was convicted of murdering.
Gruesome. It's
Yeah, it's a
gruesome.
pretty gruesome murder. She murdered.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, she murdered Bobby Joe Stinnett on December 16th, 2014. And she strangled her to death, and she was 8 months pregnant, and then she cut the baby out of Bobby Joe.
No good. It's
And
not good.
yeah, so pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy story.
Well, I think it was like just in the summer, or yeah, it was over the summer into the fall that I was reading, because we've had like I want to say like a 10-year moratorium on executions in general. So like, although it's very rare for a woman to be executed, it was also really rare for federal executions to even take place. And people were really giving the Trump. This was low key, so I shouldn't say people really were. It was very, politically advocated, or politically oriented to the specific anti-capital punishment folks. But they were giving the Trump administration a real hard time about this, about resuming executions during COVID. And after a 10-year hiatus, he started knocking them off, man, and they killed two guys that I know of, and now I believe she was the third execution. So, that I can recall. But I mean, I don't know. When I first was exposed to it, I thought it was just kind of actually ridiculous, because like the people they were advocating for, it was like, for instance, this one fella, his name escapes me. He wasn't the trigger man, but he was part of a group who kidnapped two youth pastors that were married together, murdered them in Texas by driving them out to some remote location after torturing them for hours in the trunk of their car, drove them out by some lake. A dude popped the trunk, shot both of them. One of them was still alive, the woman, and the dude poured gasoline in the car and lit the car on fire, and the woman died of smoke asphyxiation. So they convicted him of a capital crime and said, like, dude, you're a murderer. You murdered this person. And because he kind of like indirectly murdered her, they were like, oh, he needs to be saved. It was very bizarre. That wouldn't be the case that I would plant my flag on, right? Like, maybe we've all heard the story of the guy who is like doing a gas station robbery gone wrong, and his assailant that's next to him that doesn't do anything, and then the guy shoots a clerk or something, and the guy that was next to him gets sentenced to life or something, or gets sentenced to death. Like, that seems like a more appropriate case where you're like, look, dude, the guy, it was robbery gone wrong. He didn't pull the trigger. Like, I'm not saying he's innocent, but like, do we need to kill him? But it was just a weird one. Like that like plainly seemed like it was kind of a death penalty case. So I don't know. But yeah, they resumed him with with some fierce resistance, is what I remember.
Yeah, it's like they went like full back, like up from like full stop to full speed ahead. Like let's not touch our feet in the water here. Let's not make sure we have some really good, strong evidence to come out from here and like set a good precedent. Seemed like they just came out with like, all right, we're just going to lip this.
Exactly.
I've been seeing more and more of that lately too, popping up on like Reddit and the news and people talking about it.
Well, Rob, do you know why there was a 10-year moratorium on it?
I don't remember exactly why. From what I remember, there was a lot of difficulties with getting drugs from the
I've heard about
other
that too.
countries. But I don't remember like anyone ever really publishing anything like solid from the government that said we stopped for this reason or whatever.
Yeah, okay. Because I've heard about many of the states that do still do capital punishment or have the death penalty.
Yeah.
They use lethal injection, and I just know a lot of the companies that manufactured the chemicals that were used in lethal injection just didn't want to be a part of that anymore. So they just stopped manufacturing the chemicals to allow that to happen. And that's when you got, I don't know if you remember, this is like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that gruesome story coming out of Oklahoma City, or it might have been Texas, where they were trying to make their own lethal injection.
Yeah.
And it went like horribly wrong, like a scene from like a law-abiding citizen, where the dude slowly like died a torturous death.
Damn.
No, 100%. And there's even been
hear about that.
there's even been the random case of, this blew my mind, but of an inmate surviving an execution.
Yeah.
And then what do?
Yeah.
Do you put him to death again? Like, technically you executed him and he lived, right? Like, he just didn't die. So it's like, it becomes this like really semantic legal thing. And I think they ended up actually killing him, and he had to lay on the gurney twice, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Dude, yeah, I guess how you could be like, that's an argument, but at the same time, like, but it wasn't Phil though, right? Because he's not dead. Unless you call
Exactly.
he died, he came back to life, so now he's like, like the Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, where now he doesn't have his blood pact or whatever because he died and got resurrected. Like some shit like that. So
this is my one topic where I'm a bleeding heart. Like, I am super anti-capital punishment. So I'm not for these bad boys, but They definitely go down, especially Texas. Don't commit any capital crimes in Texas. You're just asking for it. They will give your ass the chair fast.
Yeah.
They're efficient about it.
They don't fuck around down there, bro.
No, And Missouri
Yeah.
too. Missouri's
Mhm.
bad as well.
I think
Yep.
Utah still uses a firing squad.
There's a couple that still have like the option, but I don't ever hear of
Damn.
anyone taking them. Rightfully so, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's better, like medically, sanitary. It seems like it all seems like a real bad deal.
Yeah, none of it's good.
Yeah,
I feel
none
like
of
if
it's
I had
good.
if I had
Shotgun
good
to the
style.
dick.
No, bro. I'd
Yeah,
want a cigarette,
there
a
you go.
blindfold, and somebody shoot me straight in the face, like out instantly. Not even feel it, like straight through the back of the brainstem. I'm out. Like just go, like do it straight old school style. You want your last
I would
cigarette and call it.
I would at
Yeah.
least need a fight to the death. Like me, another inmate, we just got
Gladiatorial games. Just to
Something,
get
Yeah,
it
dude.
done.
dude. Exactly. Make
Something.
it fun. If you're gonna go out,
Yeah.
you might.
Yeah.
Let me
Dude, there's a
fight
great
until I die.
documentary. I'll Google the name of it. Maybe this will be a good thing to open with next episode. There's a great documentary about this dude who committed a murder in Thailand, and he's in Thai prison, and
Oh,
he gets to go through a Thai boxing competition to gain his freedom. And it is fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is
homework for
nuts.
this week. That's a good way to.
It's a
we can
cool-
pick up on that one.
It's a really
Yeah.
cool documentary. So maybe that's a great way to bust into the next week's episode for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So
Yeah.
next week we'll lead with that. Go
Alright.
in with a good
Thai
story.
boxing.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. It's been a good 2 hours. We'll catch you guys next week. Have a good week.
Yeah, thanks everybody. See you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Let it.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Subtle Propaganda. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media. You can find our podcast anywhere podcasts are uploaded, which include our pre and post show. We will be live next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to tell us how wrong we were in the comments. See you next time.